you definitely want to. When you hear the talk of that's not the way to send a message. But when it's happening in these people's minds over and over and over again, this, and I'm sure in this situation, again, I've never been in it, there are those that have a lot of deep meaning to really peacefully protest and try and get an answer to this. And let's be honest, there are those that are looking to destroy things, right? I mean, there are those that are saying, okay, this is our opportunity to destroy things, and that's what they do. So sometimes, unfortunately, you're so concerned with hearing the National Guard is coming in, extra police are coming in, that
what gets lost is what was really important in the first place. What was really important in the first place, that's exactly right, gets lost. And those that are doing the damage, and listen, if you're part of that and listening to me say this or want to tell me to shut the heck up, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not there, that's fine. But that's all I can do is look at it from the outside in and say, okay, you want to send a message. Even the family that's mourning the loss is saying, let's keep this peaceful, to send the message. And it's not, because that's all I see on CNN is listening to the police talk about the extra protection that's going to come in, and they're being issued their riot gear to come in. So the focus goes to that and not on what it should be of what's going on. What's going on around the country in these situations. But unfortunately, we're worried about the extra police coming in that have to take care of the rioting and the looters and put out the fires. And at the end is that there are those that I'm sure maybe that are doing it that are saying, well, this is going to be a wake-up call for everybody to understand what's going on. I have no idea. I mean, I find it hard to believe that destruction will do that. They're doing it for what they think are their reasons, but it just seems to me from that's what I gathered. And how you sit with your kids who are younger than mine, Jake is home getting ready for the draft. He's 24 years old. The conversation is elevated a little more. Of course.
And that was one of the thoughts as we said, where's the message? That becomes page 2, page 3 of what's going on, because we're so worried about taking care of the problem that was just created with all the looting and the fires and everything. And it seems like a shame if the true meaning of this, and let's get down to what went on, gets lost.
Yeah, I don't believe it will get fully lost, but I understand the point that you're making.
I agree with that.
It feels sometimes like we are living, to use a ridiculous but I think apt analogy, in a can of soda that has been shaken up. And when you shake up a can of soda and you open it, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it does.
The anger and the frustration has to go somewhere. It doesn't always go in an organized way. It doesn't always go where it wants to go or where it might be best suited to go. But it has to go somewhere.
Yes, it does.
And so that's sort of how it feels as we live this way. One way or another, I love Baltimore. I love that city.
Me too.
You and I have been there a million times.
City.
The first All-Star game I ever covered was in the city of Baltimore. It's a beautiful ballpark. Again, that's not what's important here. But it just makes me sad to see these events taking place in a wonderful city. And again, hopefully, I don't have a report on what's going on in the streets as we speak, but I hope that cooler heads will prevail and that we will be able to begin a healing process, and that we will be able to begin the process of seeing to it that these sorts of things don't happen anymore and don't need to happen anymore, and we can all try and make it a little better one way or another.
Yeah, hopefully. We know it's never quite that easy, but that's the ending you want, and certainly, we'll talk about it from the baseball side, whether they move the game to Washington or what they do, but this is the position we're in now.
Again, we will have Rob Manfred an hour from now, and we'll go through.
He was there.
He happened to be there last night, and when I say that, he didn't go there because the circumstance was taking place. He was going to be there anyway. It was coincidental that he was right in the center of all of this. For the record, he was on Baseball Tonight last night. Here's how his assessment of the situation went.
I was down in the clubhouses talking to the players on the two teams, and around 4:30, I first spoke to Luis Angelos and then to Peter. They had up-to-date information about what was going on. Obviously, we've been following on the television monitors in the stadium, and we had a series of conversations which led to the conclusion that we were going to postpone tonight.
And for those that are wondering, well, the proximity, the epicenter of this protest was less than a mile from the ballpark. So it's right there, everything that's going on.
Buck Showalter was also on Baseball Tonight with Carl Ravitch.
Baltimore's a great city, and it saddens my heart. I've come to love it. So to see it make national news, for this, the reason why this all happened, without getting too much into it, it's a sad day for all of us here, and we're just hoping that we can learn from it in a lot of different ways.
One more I want to play for you, and then we'll go on to other matters this morning, because
obviously we assume that, if you want coverage of what's going on in Baltimore, you're going to find it in a lot of different places. And we'll get into the sports news of the day. But I did think this was interesting. Brittany Giroli is a reporter for MLB.com. And she was on the field doing her work, doing her reports and things like that. And then you'll hear her tell George Sedano last night on the Sedano show here on ESPN Radio what it was that happened with her.
When they called the game, you had to file your story and stick around. And, I was out on the field doing a TV thing real quick, and I had a police officer say to me, "Ma'am, you have to leave this stadium immediately." That's, I think, when it kind of hits home, like I might be in danger. Today's probably the day that it kind of hit me that this is a very dangerous situation. This is much, much bigger than our jobs and much bigger than baseball.
So that
says it right there.
Yeah,
it really does.
It does.
Yeah.
I have been, now, the circumstances could not have been more different. But I have been in my life in one situation where there was chaos, where it did not feel like anyone was in charge. The Bulls won the championship. Now, again, we're talking about the celebration of a championship, which turned into a bunch of cars on fire and stuff like that, versus something here which is entirely different. In no way am I making a comparison between the circumstances that led to the chaos. But the Bulls win the championship in June of '92. They beat Portland in the old Chicago Stadium, which is a joyous. I mean, I was in there covering it. It was unbelievable. Jordan jumps up on the table. He's there. The celebration's fabulous. I was in the arena for probably a good hour and a half doing all my work after the game. And I walk out the rear exit of the old Chicago Stadium into what used to be, there was a parking lot there where my car was. And I look up, and to my astonishment, I had no idea. This was before social media. I didn't know there was anything going on outside. There were fires everywhere. People were just running. Cars are being turned over. And I stood there, and I was like, who's in charge here? And you realize no one's in charge here. And I just stood there, waited, saw what seemed like sort of a lull, got in my car and drove as fast as I could out of there. And so I will just say, again, and under totally different circumstances, when you are in a place where there is total chaos going on, you're not accustomed to that in America. That almost never happens, and it's a very unsettling, frightening feeling.
I guess the comparison would be magnify that by a million as to now anger is involved and the reason for the fires and the looting and what's going on. Listen, all we can do is pray for everybody there and hope everybody stays safe, and certainly for the family of Freddie Gray and their loss, and hope that the real reason of the backlash there, and I don't mean all the negative, the fires and the looting, but, even if it's quiet protesting or even loud protesting to get, the point across, hopefully we all they get to the bottom of that. And there is justice one way or the other in that situation. But to me, it's always a shame when it leads to the fires and the looting and the rioting. And yesterday was really one of the first times it struck me and my wife and Jake sitting there that, wow, is the message getting lost here? And as you said correctly, it won't. It's not like it's buried forever. It just seemed to get pushed aside. And that's something that's a situation that doesn't need to get pushed aside.
Yeah, far smarter people than the two of us will have to try and figure out some answers in a bigger picture to what is obviously becoming a major
yes, it is.
issue in our society in this day and age, something that, well, it breaks your heart when you really think about it. But anyway,
people are losing their lives. The bottom line is, people are losing their lives, and it's been happening at too much of a rate that's good for anybody, without question.
We'll have Rob Manfred again, who was there in an hour here on Mike and Mike, and again, a full slate of all the regular sports conversation today, and I mean full. We got Herbie today on the NFL draft. We got Jason Stark with his trivia. We got Mark Dominic in our studio, a front office insider going through draft machinations. We got the Rangers general manager, John Daniels. They get Josh Hamilton back. Our old buddy Brian Kenny previewing the boxing for us as well. Jeff Hornacek, coach of the Suns, on the basketball. We're Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. All our guests, as always, on